am a real fan of like international teams and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, because I also had this IT agency, and because we have people that have been running games for a lot of time, it does make a lot of sense of having the core team in one place, in one office, where they can really interact, where they can work together and basically sort out things right there. It does a lot to the quality. It helps a lot on the efficiency. So I'm really happy that we have all of our team in-house in Lithuania, in our beautiful office in the capital city, Vilnius.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, hey,
it's a beautiful
well,
country.
yeah, and thank you for joining us from your vacation in Thailand. That's awesome that you're here with us.
I mean, it's not a vacation when you are a CEO and
Yeah,
you're a
you
founder, but
can't take
it's more
time
like
off.
Yeah,
traveling.
no days off.
Yeah, I mean, there's also quite a few, KOLs that we have here in Phuket. There's also
Cool.
quite a few VCs that we work together. So it's, traveling, meeting people, and just trying to do the best for the project.
Yeah, I know about that. I was just traveling back from South America last week to San Francisco, and I think the biggest challenge, it's sometimes it's nice traveling because you can operate more hours in a day, but then at some point the jet lag always kicks in.
Yeah. But I mean, you have your vitamins, you have your like morning swim or morning run, and this really helps.
But if we were getting ready for a battle in the arena, we would definitely need some more sleep before that, I think.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, like Engines of Fury is an action-filled arena battler. You guys are doing some pretty unique stuff. Can you tell us like what previous projects served as motivations, for Engines of Fury, and what games, yeah, did you grow up like loving any games that led you to want to create this?
Mm, I mean, this project is a it was done by quite a few people, and the inspiration came from quite a few people just putting their thoughts on the table, and we were just brainstorming how to make sure that we really make a game that's interesting, that's engaging, that's addictive, and also a game that would allow organic tying of the play to earn or play and earn, how it's said nowadays, aspects into it. So I wouldn't say that there was one game that made the most of effect on this, but what we grew up with, what I for myself grew up with, was mainly Diablo, was mainly World of Warcraft, Mu, if anyone remembers that kind of stuff. So I grew up with these RPGs and MMORPGs. The other part of team, they still to this day play RuneScape. I think the actual concept probably started from the RuneScape's gameplay mode, which was called Dual Arena, because it had this um, really interesting and unique arena battler system where you had to stake your in-game gold, or you had to stake your items and then play against other players. So it basically, every fight became a new thrill, because you were not just playing for some I don't know, rank points or that kind of stuff, but you're actually staking your earned in-game gold to fight, and then winning the other player's gold if you are able to kill him. So in our game, we also have this. There are a lot of mechanics that allow play and earn stuff, but the key, let's say, fun part of the game is the fighting at stakes in the PvP modes, where you stake an amount of Fury tokens, then you fight against the other player, and if you win, you get to get the almost the full total stake of what both players put in. So I think this gives it a really different and unique approach to basically all of the games out there, because this is like pure esports like thrill, because everything is about your skill. If you have the skill, then you can really earn and you can have fun every time playing.
Yes, skill is important. That's really cool.
Yeah, I like the high stakes aspect of it. That's cool.
We've heard
So
about Diablo too. Like, remember Tobes was it Tobes bringing up Diablo or Floppy? Who was bringing up Diablo as
I
inspiration
can't
the other
remember,
day?
probably Tobes, but I played Diablo 2 a little bit. That was a pretty hardcore game.
I mean, Diablo should be an inspiration to us all. I mean, this is one of the most iconic games. When anybody
Hmm.
would ask, like, so what are the games that stood the test of time? I mean, even now the Diablo Resurrected. I mean, it's the same Diablo 2, just with upgraded graphics, right? And
Yeah.
it's still having a massive success, and that just tells how good the game was. So I think
Hmm.
it's it's not a question, why a lot of people are mentioning Diablo. It's really iconic,
Right.
and yeah, and so yeah.
Well, hey, let's dive a little bit more into the storyline of EOF. I've read up on it. It's sort of set in a dark, like near future world where Earth has been struck by some mysterious asteroids, or right. So, can you kind of like tell us more about that and dive into the world that you guys have created?
Yeah, I mean, what's real fun about creating the game is that I think you have to have a lot of people working together and really trying to unravel the world. So that means that even the lore has to connect really well with what you have thought about the in-game mechanics, about the in-game economy, and why certain things are in a way that they are. So the lore was created already while doing the game. So yeah, so we have this like dark world where the Earth was struck by an asteroid. Everybody thought that it's just an asteroid, but they were like hiding in those shelters, in those mines. And then basically, when the dust settled, or let's call it that way, people were coming out of their shelters and finding out that the asteroid was actually not an asteroid, but it was just a part of an alien world that has been destroyed for some mysterious reason. So what it gave them, they started finding some really raw and unexplained, schematics and blueprints. They have been finding various machinery parts that survived the impact, and out of that, they kind of figured out how to reconstruct some of the alien machinery, and this gave birth to the central point of the game, which is the engine. And the engine is where you guys will be able to mint the super strong NFTs to help you fight. The engine is the part that is being guarded by some of the mutated. I wouldn't call them aliens, but because the asteroid had like some alien bacteria and viruses in it, and when it impacted the Earth, it basically infected some of the animals, some of the people, and this is what gave birth to the bosses. So the bosses are just mutated monsters that came from that. So I mean, I could talk about the lore for a lot of hours. Actually, what we have written, there's so much more pages than what we have on our white paper, but just, we are unraveling it slowly. There's a lot more back history for all the champions that we have, for all the items. So it's going to be delivered to you guys slowly but surely, and I think that you will love the world that we're creating for you.
Yeah, it's cool. Like
Yeah.
you're building it up.
Yeah, I feel like the like lore is super important. I feel like that, those bigger games like World of Warcraft that have, stood the test of time have this like deep, rich lore that their player base just loves and gets, really attaches onto and brings them back in. So that's awesome, man. It sounds like you guys have thought about it a lot.
Yeah.
You got to make things fun, like that's the kind of part of the vibe I got initially, like, from everything that was going on with the artwork and just the idea behind it. It just, yeah, it's got to be fun. That's a really important thing right now to keep people interested in playing the games, and having that like backstory is important and all that.
Yeah, I think, it's not only about the fun, but it's also, you have to, allow players to somehow immerse themselves and to kind of feel part of the story, and, understand why they are doing what they're doing in your game. Because, I think games are really important, not just because it's like real fun and like you can meet with friends there, but you can become a different, character in your life for that couple of hours that you play every day. Like, you can become a champion that is not trying to save the earth
Yeah,
from the alien
100%.
invasion, and you can like, and when there is that backstory, when there is that history that you can read on, it's easier to just feel the action. It's like, if you would be watching a movie like, I don't know, the Avengers, and like skip to the middle of the movie, and that's where you start watching, you couldn't
Yeah.
really understand what the fuck is happening. But when you have this build up, then you're really into the movie and you immerse yourself, because there was that back history that led you to a certain moment. So I think that's why having a lore is really important for any games. And I think that there are quite a few games that are doing this. But yeah, more games should be doing that, and, really um, putting more efforts into the lore and to the back history of their games.
Yeah, well, you have some unique stuff going on with the project, and it's exciting to have for PathDAO to have the partnership. I think that something that really stands out, like, is that it seems that it's clear that when you guys are developing, like, the NFTs, like, are not thought of as like an afterthought, right? Like, you see some projects where, like, they have an idea and they're like, oh, okay, let's uh just divert this and position this for Web3, for GameFi, and attach these NFTs. Like, this is something that you've really organically, like, brought, like, into the core, like, gameplay. Can you expand on that? Because yeah, I love the history on how this project's developed, and I think that, like, hearing how you've, like, brought, like, those concepts together, like, from the start, I think is, important because it's unique.
Uh, yeah, we really wanted to make this game that would be like a proper, really quality game, but it would be on Web3. And I think that a lot of people are saying that, and a lot of projects are saying the same things. But we were building this with this mindset from the very start, that everything has to make sense. We shouldn't that the crypto aspect to it, that the tokens aspect, that the NFTs aspect, it shouldn't feel forced onto the game. It should be like an organic part of the game. So I think that's what you're trying to say about us. So yeah, I mean, in our game, how we are different is that there is no endless minting of our token. I think that's super important that we have this. We can already see some economies of some other games are collapsing just because they haven't thought that through. And in the long term, the other important thing is the NFTs, of course, and that those NFTs would have real utility, that would have real value to their token holders. And it's not only let's say speculative value, that they will increase in price for whatever reason, but that they would have real utility in the game. So in our case, all our champions, all the items that the champions will have, so weapons, armor, that kind of things, those are NFTs. And they're going to be two different, let's say, type of NFTs. So champions are what we call dynamic NFTs. What it means is that they are changing in value. You, by playing the game, will be gaining experience points to your champion, and your champion stats and its strength will increase as you progress throughout the game. So that means that whatever work you put into the game, you actually increase the value of your champion NFT. And there's going to be the other NFTs, which will be all um, unchangeable. So that's the items, and they will have different set of rarity. From the common items to the rare to the epic legendary, and of course in our case the most rare items are going to be the furious items. So I think that we really thought the utility, and on the other hand side we also thought about the supply and demand, because that's also one of the things that are not really being thought through well in our opinion in some other projects, is that they also do allow minting as we will, but they do not think about the mechanism to reduce the supply. So in our case, minting will be quite hard. You will have to work quite hard in order to get enough blueprints that you will then have to connect, combine, and out of that you create or mint an NFT for yourself. But at the same time, we will have a mechanism that will allow you to destroy your NFTs and get Fury tokens immediately. So how and why we have this is because let's say that you have increased your champions level by quite a lot, and you have some NFTs that are not being used by you anymore. So then what you can do, then you can either go and put them on the marketplace, but maybe if you don't want to wait for a couple of days or for a couple of weeks for somebody else to buy it, and you really want to buy another item. So what we allow you to destroy that NFT, and according to our algorithm, get a certain amount of Fury tokens immediately. So what it does, it helps us to already mitigate the problem of overflowed markets with our NFTs. And I think quite a lot of games have this problem, and they didn't think of like burning mechanism for the NFTs, but not burning like centralized burning, but burning by their players. And I think that really gives this organic supply and demand managing solution that we have, and that is really welcomed by by a lot of real people that have been through these economies, and they're really supporting us that we have this and that we have thought this through quite a while ahead.
Yeah, that's cool. It's do you guys have an economist on your payroll?
It's an
That's
advisor.
smart stuff you guys are doing, though, for real.
I mean, we have a lot of people that we haven't announced. We are keeping them for later on, but I think you guys are going to be excited to see who are we working with, and who is backing us, and who is helping with these ideas that I'm telling you about. So there's lots to come about us, but I just can't spill all the beans now. So yeah.
No, yeah. No, I mean, you're like obviously touching on the most important parts of these games coming out. Like everybody's curious about the functioning economy. That's like the hot kind of issue right now. Hey, so
I think that's what separates them, right? Like Floppy, like it's this is such a cool partnership, because it's and think about this also, Soul, like, right, you guys have the team based in Lithuania. Our gamer based is really based in Southeast Asia. Floppy and I are based in America. So through like your project now, like we've all been brought together and are going to be like playing the project, engaging the project, promoting the project. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, so let's pivot a little bit, and I'm kind of curious, like what it's going to be like for the player, when getting started in EOF. Like kind of walk through the first steps, and maybe walk through like what the game world will look like, and how they will interact with other players.
Yeah, so starting, we are trying to make as easy as possible. That's again one of the issues with the GameFi and with adoption of let's say standard world gamers to the blockchain gaming. So in our case, how you will start, you will register on our website. You will buy a champion or a champion box. And then the website is going to be like the main area where you manage your champion, where you manage your NFTs, where you deposit your Fury tokens or you withdraw them. if you want to, exchange them into a well-earned profit. So the web platform is going to be where you manage things, and then where you play the game is going to be a PC application. So basically, when you deposit your NFTs, you deposit some Fury tokens. Then you open the game's application, and this is where you play. Now, why do we have this like dual thing? Is because we want to ensure that there is no no friction in terms of waiting times, no friction in terms of fees that players would have to pay while they play. Like everybody is talking about, gas fees and that kind of stuff. And this is why we thought of this this solution that while you play the game, you don't pay any gas fees for any transactions that you make, and you don't have to wait for that transaction to happen. So after you have bought your champion, after you bought maybe a couple of items, you deposited them into your account on the website. That's a transaction. But after that, while you play the game, and you have to go and play against other players, so you have to stake your Fury tokens. There is no transaction fee. There is no waiting time. When you are entering the boss fights, there is like entry fee in tokens. There is a transaction, but there is no fee and there is no waiting time. When you are creating NFTs, again, you have to combine your like blueprints that you found from killing the bosses, and you have to combine them in and receive an NFT that's also a transaction, but you wouldn't be paying any gas fees for it. So I think that's really important that we found this solution and that is going to work in this way, because our game is very transaction intensive. Because every game is a mini transaction basically. And for that, we had to find this way that allows us to avoid all of the waiting times and all of the gas fees.
To be able to operate like that is key. Like without the, we got the vote right up right now because we started as a ERC20 token, and we have a vote up right now in the DAO to turn to add Polygon to the network. Like gas fees are, that's something you have to keep in mind, and it's great that you guys have that in the plan. Floppy knows all about gas fees.
Yeah, I mean, we are also an ERC20 token as our main, but we've already confirmed that there's going to be a bridge to BSC as soon as we'll start, even as soon as we'll have our pre-sales of NFTs, because again, like we always try to communicate that this message that we are doing things in a player first, let's say, manner. So we are thinking about that. We know that gas fees on your C20 are very high, and that just random gamers that don't have like
the gold standard, right? Like, and so that's the other thing is it protects the whole project because if you're operating the gold standard, but then having that bridge like to BCS or to Polygon or to the it's better. That's the way to go. But it's also refreshing for people that are interested in your project to know that like you're working with Ethereum, like that's the gold standard. That's what everyone's operating on, or the best project. So as you were talking about like with the gas fees, right? The gas fees, like it's a big subject because like there's a lot of like cool stuff with weapons, armor, skins, like really unique aesthetics going on like with Engines of Fury. This is something that like the transactions, like you talked about, being fast, like being like cost efficient for the players. Can you like talk more about like the synergy between the players and the equipment and like how all this works and goes into the game?
Yeah, so the equipment being like weapons and armor, they do two things. So one thing is aesthetic, let's say, difference. to them. So there's going to be like first gen items that are going to be like super, like you will definitely notice people that have the first generation of NFTs, and we're making sure of that aesthetically. And then the other side is that they will give stats, additional stats to your champion. So those stats are going to be very balanced, and they're going to be, I don't know, what we like to call minor stats. The essence that we're trying to build is that the game would be as close to like esports vibe as possible. That the key thing would be your skill and how you know how to use your spells, your abilities, how you know how to combine the timing of those skills, how you combine the items that you have to the skill choices that you make. But the items still, they will give you a couple of I don't know, defense points, a couple of strength, a couple of agility, and that kind of stuff. So the items are both. They are for aesthetic reasons, but they also give you a slight upper hand in the fight.
No, that's cool. That's like where the synergy comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about different game modes? You've kind of touched on the like boss fights and everything, but there's going to be definitely PvE elements. But it sounds like, you know, a main PvP focus. Like, what are some of the game modes and what players are going to expect?
Yeah, so at the very beginning, well, okay, so there are 4 gameplay modes that we will begin with. There's going to be a training round, which is going to be fully free to play gameplay mode, which is basically for people that have just started the game or that they have just bought a new champion that they don't know how to fight with yet. So this mode is that you could come to the game, you could try out your champion, try out various combinations, skills, maybe items that you have bought but don't know whether they're good or not, whether they play into your strategy or not. So the training ground is the PvE mode, which is free to play. You select the difficulty level of your opponent, and then you just try out your champion. The other PvE mode is the boss fights. So imagine it's like you are, I don't know, at the same Diablo or some RPG dungeon, and you are at the final boss, let's say, stage. So this is you against the boss. This is going to be like really difficult fights, and there's going to be a small entry fee in Fury tokens. But if you manage to kill the boss, there is going to be a very, very huge rewards for it. So, and the boss fights are where you get the blueprints for the NFTs as well. So the entry fees are going to be really, really low. But if you play them enough, if you get to kill the bosses and if you get the luck on the drop rates, then by minting those NFTs and by getting other rewards associated from killing the boss, you will be really rewarded. And that's the main, let's say, play to earn aspect of our game. Now,
I love that the boss fights. Those are cool. Because
yeah,
you guys are you're doing so much here with the different game modes. Like I love like how Engines of Fury has so much to offer, like within one project.
yeah, I mean, from let's say from the development point of view and from like in-game mechanics point of view, it does not create that much more complexity for us, because there's still going to be similar arenas that are going to be rendered. You still have the same champions that use the same equipment. So the only added complexity is the bosses, is the pathways and the whole mechanics of them fighting against you. But I think it really brings more and attracts more audience, where you also give them the ability to fight against the PvE rounds, and this is where we can add organically the play to earn aspect. Because the other gameplay mode, which I mean, well, we ourselves like it the most because it's the most competitive, but this is just me and my guys coming from this MMO type of games, from like MOBAs, like we love like League of Legends, like Team Fight Tactics and that kind of stuff. So we're really like competitive players. So the PvP modes, like the duels, which is one-on-one, and the tournaments where you just get tons of players that pull into the jackpot, and then they play in like a playoff fashion, one against one, until like the top three are left. So this is the core aspect, the core fun aspect of the game, where you come to the PvP player mode. You select an amount that you would like to stake in terms of your Fury tokens. So we will have a couple of tiers, from like the super, super low one, which is like going to be like a couple of cents, just for players that want to play PvP but don't want to risk too much of their tokens. But we will allow like a lot higher tiers when players just, fuck that, I want to win. I'm here. I really believe in my skills. Let's do 1,000, let's go kill somebody. So basically, when you select that tier, you are then into the matching system, where you are being matched with a similar level and similar TRP in terms of the other player, and then you're matched. You are teleported to the arena, and this is it. One against one. Show your skills, show what you can, and if you are successful, then you get double amounts that you have staked for that fight. But you can also lose. So
let's go.
the faint-hearted. Yeah. Go. The bomb has to
go. Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stressful white knuckling, but love it. That's like the kind of stuff that gets people like really. I mean, it's a competitive nature of it, and that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to call it stress. I like to call it thrill, because thrill has kind of a better connotation to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly, the thrill. Well, that's where it's been like so. Like that's where you've thought it out. Like it's so action packed, right? So it's not just like that, like that gamble, push the button. It's like it's exciting in that in the replay. So like we want to hear more about the Fury tokens. You talked a little bit earlier about these like rare NFTs, and then you also touched a little bit on the crafting of recipes. But can you go into like more details here? Like there are a ton of stuff that people like are battling for. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, I usually get asked, so what's the Fury tokens utility? Like this like standard question. It's basically all the AMAs, and how I like to answer is that in our game, our token should be an example of what a utility is. Now, that seems that I'm bragging, but let me explain why I think that is. Basically, the token is the essence of the game, and you have to do everything with it. So from the very beginning, where you have to buy your champion in order to start the game, then in order to fight against other players in PvP, you have to stake an amount of Fury tokens. If you want to enter the boss fights, again, you have to enter a low fee, which is in the Fury tokens. If you want to then mint NFTs from combining a couple of blueprints that you have found from the boss drops, you also have to pay in a couple of Fury tokens. So in terms of Fury tokens, you have to have them for everything. And on the other hand, you are rewarded in Fury tokens for basically pretty much everything. So if you win against the other player in the PvP player modes, you kind of get their Fury tokens, right? If you win against bosses in the PvE rounds, you also get a certain reward in Fury tokens. So there's a lot of use for the Fury token, because it's everything in our game. And that's why we had to have this a separation of where you actually have the what we call like real transactions, for cryptocurrency, which happens on the website account, where you just deposit your fuel tokens, and this is the real transaction. When you open the game, all of the transactions that I've been telling about, they are going to be instant and with no gas fees, because as you can understand, there's lots of them. So that's for the token. And for the minting of NFTs, well, again, so the only place where you can get the blueprints by just actively playing is from the PvE boss fights. And there are also going to be quite a lot of community events or achievements, leaderboards, guild fights also. I mean, we are not talking about that a lot, but now that we're in this AMA with you guys, we really want to add this, and this will be added like guild fights, where you will be able to challenge some other guild and just show that the PathDAO are actually the best guild. So, and for those
That's awesome.
events,
That's
are also
awesome.
going
That's
to
amazing.
be like, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah,
Sharpen
that's
your
really
blades,
cool.
guys.
Yeah, we're gonna step up for you, Sol, big time. Yeah, we'll represent.
Yeah, so another unique thing about EOF is that players can actually buy shares of the arenas in which they're fighting, right? Can you talk about this a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was
so
cool. This was really cool.
yes,
Arena battler where you can buy the arena.
yeah. I mean, you should be able to kind of become. Well, I mean, what we call it's an arena master. So what it means from like the technical point of view is that in our game there will be a different number of arenas in where the players will be fighting. But we will also put those arenas like for sale, so that players could buy and own parts of those arenas. And what that means is that the arena ownership is kind of set in the arena NFT tokens. One arena will contain 10,000 individual arena NFT tokens, which will allow players to buy like a share of that. And then by owning the arena NFT tokens, players will have the opportunity to earn rewards by participating in various events and activities. And like the arena ownership will have this DAO element to our game. I don't want to go in a very deep detail about this, but we will, involve players in certain decisions, in certain events, and that will be not only like a P2E aspect that you can get rewarded for holding them and for making certain actions, but you will also feel that you're part of the game. You can influence the game's direction. You can influence what kind of events we do, what kind of new champions we release, and basically we really want the players to feel part of this, and we want to listen to them and kind of make the game uh, interesting and exciting for them. And through that DAO mechanism, this is how we will do it.
Yeah, it's all about building community.
Yeah.
So wait, is that kind of like your version of a land sale in the way that you can buy like shares of an arena?
Yeah, I mean, you could call it like that. Because, well, yeah, I mean, there are going to be a certain land spots, which is like the arenas, and then you can own them. And by owning them, you get some rights and also some passive income. Because one thing from the PvP fights is that from the total stake that both players have staked, I don't know, let's say $10. The winning player will receive like $9.98. Like the 2 cents would be going to the treasury, which will be used for in-game rewards, and for those players that will be holding the arena tokens for their, let's say, passive commission type of reward, and also for the events that are going to be held for the players owning these.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
We already got some questions coming in, which we'll ask in a little bit. I love the aesthetics, though. I want to talk a little bit about the aesthetics, the graphics. Um, like you have some like how you integrated all the NFTs in organically is amazing, and I love how it's all coming together. But can you talk about the aesthetics and like maybe some of the motivation here, how this all came together?
Yeah, I mean the style is sort of a retro futuristic, is sort of like ray punk. Um, we also love, Mad Max Fury Road. You can kind of get that fury from kind of us loving the Mad Max series. So it does have this like really interesting and really weird world type of vibe where it's kind of a you kind of could it's kind of in the future, but you can feel some elements from the past. So in the clothing, in the weapons, like you can see that they kind of look old, but they have some like alien machinery just like integrated to them. And I think all of that gives that really unique vibe that I think games should have. And then again, we are creating a world like the champions, the arenas, that it would seem realistic. We kind of don't like the Minecraft type vibe, the animation type kind of vibe. We think that these games that have this realistic vibe and very high attention to detail, those are actually the most fun to play, at least for us. So this is
Yeah, I
where
mean
the aesthetics are
the
coming from.
graphics, they're engaging. You know what I mean? Like when you see the characters, like um, yeah, it looks so cool. It really
Yeah,
does.
thanks. I mean, we're working a lot on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's big. Crypto gaming needs to like take advantage of all the Unreal Engine out there and everything that's like other game studios are doing it, and crypto is on its way to catching up in that regard. So it's cool. It's good. Yeah, it's good to hear you guys are going all in on graphics. Um, so PathDAO community is super excited about Engines of Fury, obviously, and this partnership that we're forming here. Can you run us down like kind of the timeline of things? Because obviously things move super quickly.
Yeah. What's really set in stone is when we're going to release the game. So in terms of the actual game open to the public, this is going to be for the PVE rounds, for the PVE, sorry, gameplay modes, the free to play and the boss fights. This is open in around mid quarter 3, and for the PvP rounds, that's open in early quarter 4. Now,
Exciting.
in terms of the NFT pre-sales, that's also for the moment planned for the quarter 2. So we are actually now confirming the actual strategy on it, the amounts, the prices, the utility of them, and we will be releasing this, let's say, plan quite soon. So of course, we will be talking with you guys also on that. That's one part, and that's one thing where guilds usually like to participate early and get that bonus of having access to it early. And then again, we're also dealing with Binance NFT and with other platforms that would be facilitating the IGO. So that's still planned for quarter 2. Now, in terms of the IDO, we are going to be making announcements about this in the coming weeks. As you can see around, you kind of know that this is going to be delayed a little bit due to the market conditions, due to the geopolitics of it. But at the end of the day, I think for our project is actually for the better, because we are very focused on building. This gives us a lot more focus and a lot more effort on the actual game. And I think it's super important that those games, when they launch, they have the utility their NFTs, for their tokens as soon as possible. And that only helps the project, it only helps its token holders, it's basically better for everyone. So at the end of the day, there are going to be like this small change in terms of the idea, but I think it's for the better for all people that are related to our project.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you guys have an ambitious timeline coming up. So to have those, you have to have quarterly goals. It's not just about having that next goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody to check out the website too, eof.gg. That's correct, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a roadmap on there. I've been just like scrolling up and down this whole time. Just it's a beautiful
It's
website.
exciting. Yeah, it's exciting what they have going on for sure. So I think this is always the question that people want to hear. Like, can you drop any alpha on us about Engines of Fury? Anything you can share that might not be super widely known?
I kind of already did, and you had to pick on it.
I love it.
So the ones that heard it should be excited. The ones that didn't now will be screaming on your chat. Where can I get the recording? But yeah, so I kind of already did.
We can jump on. We got a couple questions from the community.
Yeah,
if we have a couple minutes just to ask this stuff. Let me see. Okay, so I'm just gonna start off with the first one. This is obviously a hot topic right now. It's about tokenomics, one token versus two token systems. This question's from Justin Noah, PathDAO. The balance of value between NFT and the main token is always a key issue of a game project. If one or two of the tokens is broken, the balance will be leading to the risk of breaking the product. What do you do to solve this problem?
Yeah, it's a good question, and the question comes from, I guess, the current problems in the current games, right? So, and again, I think we've been discussing this quite elaborately about what we do and what we do differently. So, first of all, we will have single token economy and not a dual one. We decided to go against the dual one because in the dual ones, the second token is the one that it's minted, and it's minted to infinity, which leads to real hard choices for the project's team to ensure timely and balancing burns and that kind of things, which, at least what we've seen, doesn't really always help the project. And especially in the bear market, when there's no, let's say, global hype, when the game has to be just sustainable in its own in-game economy just because of its players and just because it's fun to play and there's utility for everything, then the real, let's say, problems of dual token economy kind of appear. So I think we have made the right choice of having the single token economy. There's going to be a fixed supply. So that's for the token, and for the utility of it, like you've already heard, there's lots of utility. You have to use it for basically everything. So there's going to be, I think, mitigation of those potential problems there. Now about the NFT, again, correct question in saying that if there is an imbalance in, let's say, supply and demand, and the usual problem is in oversupply of the NFTs, then it kind of kills the floor price of all the NFTs out there. Even if there are some kind of lower rarity NFTs that are just being continuously dumped on the marketplaces, that also impacts the NFTs that are of high value, that are of high rarity. So that's why we have this in-game built supply demand managing solution, which is the token, the NFT melting, as we call it, that, but in simple words, that's NFT destruction. So if you see that your NFT is of very low rarity, you see that it would take time for someone to buy it on the marketplace, or maybe even nobody would like to buy it if it's like really, really low, low rarity. You can just destroy it and get Fury tokens immediately. So I think that really helps managing the economy.
Well, no, it clarifies totally on what you're doing on the tokenomics side. In terms of like energy levels, like how does that factor in at all with the NFTs?
What do you mean by energy levels? Sorry.
This was just one of the questions that we had like from our community like tonight, like in terms of like is there an energy system?
Yeah, energy system, yeah.
So like going into the auto battlers, like the frequency and like how often they can engage and play.
Well, I mean, look, in our case, there is none. I think why there is this energy system in other games, it's because well, let's be honest, some games are basically grinding games, right? And the play to earn aspect is from what you grind at that game. So that's why they have to have those energy systems, that there would be a limit of how long can you grind, because then their economies would collapse. And in our case, it's not a grinding game at first. Like there are areas where you can engage in the grinding, which is maybe the PvE boss mode, but it's not certain that you will win. Again, you have to kill the boss, and we will be changing the boss pathways, the boss spells like very often. So you can't just learn like, okay, so I go 3 steps right, I make a spell, I go 3 steps left, I make a spell. No, it's going to be changing, and you have to be really engaged and skilled in order to kill him. So that's why we don't have an energy system. It's not a grinding game. So we don't have to have the energy system.
Also, the focus is on fun, right? It's not just about like, sometimes they joke it's like click to earn. No, it's like, it's like, you gotta play.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there's no like auto battle setting or anything like that, or like the boss mode.
No, for the boss, like every time you will be controlling your character, running around, trying to avoid the damaging spells, trying to shoot your spells. So it's all about the skill and what you do in the game. So it's definitely not click to earn, and that's why we started. At the end of the day, we were seeing games out there. We were seeing the unimaginable hype about them, and we were just sitting, having beers and like, what the fuck? Why? How come? How?
Yeah,
let's do a proper game, and this is why we that's why we are here, basically.
Hey, so another question before we let you go. People are asking about, will it be available on mobile?
Yes, it will, but not at the launch. I think this is super important for the adoption. We already have people that are working on making sure that what we have in our code, is going to be frictionless when we want to port it. So we are building with this in mind, and this will definitely be available on mobile.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I see on the roadmap maybe Q1 of next year. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Is there I think there was one. Okay, scholarship system. Somebody's curious about a scholarship system, or did we talk about that already?
We haven't, but I think this is something that we will have to get in detail with you guys first when we will go through all the mechanics, all what we have in terms of NFTs, in terms of pre-sales, in terms of that kind of things. So there will definitely be systems for it. But this is something for a later AMA with you guys, probably.
Yeah,
Yes, all right.
and we're trying to always move away from like it's not scholarship. They're gamers, right? Like these are people. So that's
Yeah.
something like we're always trying to really push and like just the involvement with all the different skins, armors, like even pets, like the things that you can do in Engines of Fury. It's really exciting, and I appreciate so much, Soul, you coming in tonight and like giving us your time.
Appreciate as well. It was real fun, and again, guys, I think that you also are doing things in a very right manner. That's why we wanted to partner with you from the first talk. With you, we understood that the vision is is really similar between us. Where the GameFi should be going to, how the GameFi will change, because it will change. And I think this is why we can have this really cool and engaging talks with you, because like we're on the same mindset. So really happy that you invited me. Happy to come again in some time. And
So
yeah,
I gotta
it
ask.
was fun.
I gotta ask you one more question before you leave,
Yeah.
because one of our passionate like community members wanted to hear back. But they questioned Damien CHX questioned, judging from the system, how does the game plan, uh, like how do they combat the play to win structure, which inevitably destroys most games? I mean, I'm going to say something first here. You guys are doing a one token system, right? Which, we've seen the two token system hasn't gone well for some people. So I'll let you answer this question, but this was a question that was brought up, and I wanted to make sure that, we address all the questions from our core, community members.
Yeah. So the question was mainly about pay to
Yeah, like
win, or
it was like
Yeah,
how does the game
yeah.
plan? The question exactly is how does the game plan to combat play to win structure, which inevitably
pay to win.
yeah, pay to win.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this is
So
the
it,
question basically about the NFTs that we'll have, that those NFTs will have stats that help champions, and that maybe
right.
the ones that buy the right NFTs will immediately win. I think that, that's a good question. I touched upon this also, that, we have three dedicated game designers only for the items and for the stats. And the core, let's say, task for them is to make sure that the balance is very correct in terms of that the NFTs that we have, they give some bonuses, but they are minor compared to what you have to do in order to win against the other opponents. So there will be minor stats that give you additional strength, but there is also another set of stats that are like increased experience gain, increased drop rate, or that kind of thing. So they are not purely on the PvP side that you can get, but some of them are more for the player comfort. Some of that are more for player aesthetics, and only a
Hmm.
minor percentage of that goes into the actual winning chance of you against the other player. Because again, we want to make it fun, we want to make it skill based, so there will
Hmm.
be a little bit better for the players that have the NFTs, but definitely not the deciding factor. It's like when if that that person asking the question has been playing. I don't. I for example sacrificed a lot of my adolescent years for World of Warcraft. Probably too much, but playing in the PvP arenas. Even if you had like the best legendary weapons or like sets that gave you additional bonuses, like if you didn't have the skill, like the more skilled player could like come and kill you in like 10 seconds. So
Hmm.
it does help, but it's not a deciding factor. So we're doing everything that we can to avoid this becoming play or pay to win. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. You talked a lot about the skill based play, and that's cool to hear.
Now I'm excited about this. This is really cool. Like Soul, thank you for coming in and giving us so much time. You have a lot of updates I know coming up in your timeline, so we definitely want to bring you back maybe in a month or so from now, talk more and give more information. But really appreciate your time. And cool to hear more about your team in Lithuania. Enjoy your time in Thailand, Floppy. This was a very informative session.
Yeah, definitely. This was a great one. Yeah, we had like a lot of the community came out for this one too.
Cool, guys. Thanks a lot. I was also happy to be here and also happy to come back in around a month or even earlier. It was nice chatting. So
Yeah,
let's do it more often.
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
PathDAO is here to support you guys for sure.
Cool. Thanks, guys, then, and have a great night, you two. And for my Southeast Asian friends, good morning, and let's go have some lunch now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, bye.
Good
Love
more
it.
night.
Take care. Yeah,
All
good
right,
morning
cheers,
night.
cheers.